Hey there, gamers! It's Ben and Noah from LHG, and today we are doing a launch day first impressions for arguably the most anticipated game of the generation. Of course, you know what we're talking about. Of course, you know we're talking about The Last of Us Part 2. It dropped yesterday, it was playable at 9 p.m. Noah and I both had the countdown timer on the PlayStation. We were losing our minds, and then we finally got to play it after so many years. The Last of Us Part 2. Noah has plowed much further into it than I have.
Yeah, I would say I'm approaching the halfway mark.
That's crazy, dude. Have you done? I mean, have you? How many hours do
Oh
you think
no,
you played it so far?
I must. Well, all right, I may be like a third of the way through.
I mean, it's a
Um,
30-hour
I, I,
campaign, they say. I mean, how many hours have you played
yeah,
since it?
so I've probably played around 8 at this point.
8 hours?
Yeah,
Okay, so you'd probably be about the third of the way if it is like a 25, 30-hour campaign.
yeah,
And so, just for everyone who's watching knows, there will be absolutely no story spoilers. We'll try to largely stay away from the story altogether because the story is a huge part of what makes this game. And what we can say is it's not what you're expecting. I don't even know what you're expecting, but whatever you're
yeah.
expecting, this is not that. so,
No, it's not.
after 8 hours of playing, what are your first impressions of The Last of Us Part 2?
Best game I've probably played this generation.
Wow.
It is.
Like God of War good or even better?
I would say, well, God of War does things better than Last of Us, but Last of Us, without getting into spoilers, it does stuff that I haven't seen any other video game do
Mm-hmm.
necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so in that regards, that brings a lot of unique flavoring in terms of like story, um, gameplay moments, set pieces. Like this game does set pieces better than I've seen in any other game.
Mm-hmm.
I just went through one, which is probably one of the most intense like experiences I've had in a video game, to be honest.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mean, it's The Last of Us gameplay wise. They didn't really change a lot to the formula, um, but everything just seems more polished,
Yeah.
more refined,
And to
and
speak on that, even the kind of even the HUD, even the crafting menus, if you've played The Last of Us, you will immediately be familiar with how to play this game. And I appreciated that too. It doesn't try to reinvent the wheel. It just takes the wheel and it puts a big coat of polish on it. And it says you already know how to play The Last of Us. So we're going to throw you right back into this world with a control scheme, HUD, crafting menu that you're very comfortable with. And I appreciated that for sure. There wasn't a big learning curve, which kind of allows you to really exist in the game. And you'll be like, oh my God, this is intense, you
yeah,
know? So
and
let's,
well, no, and I was gonna say they got rid of certain mechanics I found very frustrating in the first one. The primary one being there's no more shivs.
mm-hmm,
You have a knife, doesn't break.
mm-hmm,
There's no more like there's locked doors, but you're not expelling a resource to
mm-hmm.
unlock that door. Um, so yeah, it's a in terms of gameplay, it is awesome. It's so well paced, and there's areas in the game that are extremely open,
Mm-hmm.
and you could carve your own path. And yeah, I don't want to get into specifics, but the Seattle area, really take your time there. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot to see. And in this game, it just kind of demands that of you is to really take your time, take in the scenery. Um, there's so much environmental storytelling
Yeah.
and like journals throughout the world that I mean,
And
some of the most heart-wrenching stuff is in those
in the
journals.
journals, yeah. And I would like to speak on the environmental storytelling because it is remarkable. And then during this video, you'll be seeing gameplay footage that will honestly be from like the first couple hours of the game. There will be no story elements, but I think it's important that we're able to show you the amount of detail work that went into this game. It is absolutely mind-boggling because I'm a big detail guy. Like I feel like I take longer than the quoted amount of hours on games because I will oftentimes just take an hour just like looking at the way the trees move or every little piece of like dilapidated luggage you find in one of these abandoned houses. Like, I appreciate that an artist made all of those, and I don't think I've ever seen a game that has as much layered detail work as I have. And of course, this is Naughty Dog we're talking about.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the biggest point I wanted to make on a first impressions video like this, about why you need to play this game, is Naughty Dog drop kicked the art of video game storytelling. What, 8 years ago when The Last of Us came out? How long was it?
2013.
2013. So let's do the math there. What is that?
7 years.
7 years ago, right. So The Last of Us basically remade the landscape of cinematic storytelling in video games. The brutality, the realism, all of it.
I refer to it as the Citizen Kane of video games.
That is actually a pretty apt definition. So, Naughty Dog creates The Last of Us and shows everyone that you can make essentially like an Oscar-winning movie inside of a video game. Do they then make another brutal Oscar-winning game after that? No. They return to Uncharted, their big Indiana Jones spectacle-laden series, and after The Last of Us... When did Uncharted... Was it Last of Us, Uncharted 3, and then Uncharted 4? Or was it Last of Us...
Uncharted 4, and then...
Yeah, so it was Last of Us, and then their next game was Uncharted 4, which was, again, this big spectacle, action, shooter Indiana Jones, and then, of course, we have the unofficial sequel to Uncharted, Lost Legacy, which was actually quite good. A lot of people...
It was really fun.
Didn't play it. Super fun. It's just more Uncharted. And my point is that The Last of Us Part 2 is Naughty Dog almost, in a sense, returning to their roots and telling an even more brutal Oscar-winning story with all of the things and gameplay mechanics they learned along the way with Uncharted rolled into that experience. And once that clicked, I was like, holy God, this is The Last of Us with an Uncharted level of gameplay and playability, but still staying very, very true to The Last of Us. And it makes the game such an incredible experience because, like you said, Ellie can jump, she can go prone. The environmental storytelling is expanded because you can crawl under things, you can jump up and grab onto things, Swimming is not an issue. So it takes the gameplay ability of an Uncharted but puts it back in the world of The Last of Us, which, let me tell you, is much more brutal than it even was in the first game. So Last of Us Part 2, The Last of Us Part 2 in many ways is Naughty Dog firing on all cylinders. It is the true realization of the potential of what this studio can do. And that is why I'm going to savor every minute of it, It's the spectacle of Uncharted with the brutality and the storytelling and the heart of Last of Us, with easily the best graphics that will probably be on this generation of consoles.
I can't believe this is a current gen game.
Yeah.
The detail, like, this is without a doubt the best foliage I've ever seen in a video game.
Oh, yeah. At this point, I'm gonna remind myself.
Snow, right?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to remind myself really quick, when I was recording gameplay footage for this, I literally was just, almost in the opening scene, you're just walking in like a field of wheat, and I literally spent 10 minutes just panning the camera because literally, like in most games, the foliage just moves and you can see the pattern. But in The Last of Us, as you're walking through on horseback, you can see a gust of wind ripple through the wheat. And you're just like, oh my God, someone programmed in individual wind gusts. I can't even tell you how good it is.
Yeah, and all the plants move. There's very little clipping.
You can knock snow off of tree branches.
Yeah, the detail is insane, and that detail extends into the characters, just their animation.
Mm-hmm.
I have had some awkward animation glitches, but nothing game-breaking.
Mm-hmm.
If you played Uncharted 3, the animation in that game could be a little janky sometimes. I got the very same feel from this, but it doesn't hinder the experience whatsoever. But every conversation, like even outside of cutscene, the faces are fully animated.
Mm-hmm.
When you're running, first off, you could hear people breathe,
mm-hmm.
which I've never heard in a game before. But every little thing you do, there's a facial animation that corresponds with it. And when you're having a conversation with an NPC outside of a cutscene, they're still super expressive. And the detail is just incredible. Like your clothes get dirtier after battle. Like, I just went through a battle and fucking my shirt's just covered with blood right
Mm-hmm.
now. It's absolutely incredible.
The amount of emotion in the characters really, like,
It's unreal.
a lot of times, like when I'll do a stealth attack, I'll spin the camera around, and as you're stealth attacking, the rage on Ellie's face as she's shanking someone. I mean, like you
She
can
gets like
see
shark eyes.
the rage on her face. So now I'd like to. I don't want to divulge any story elements, but you've played a lot further than I have. So without actually talking about any story elements, can you speak to the level of storytelling that players can expect as they move into the game? And can you speak to what they should expect having come from the first Last of Us? Will they be disappointed with certain things? Will they be blown away by certain things? I mean, how well do you think it dovetails with the first game?
Wow. So, in terms of storytelling, uh, yeah, I can't, if
Can't say
I
anything.
can't say anything about the structure because it'll kind of,
Uh huh.
uh, I will
Does
say,
does it
I
do
will,
justice?
yeah. So this game totally just do not play this game if you haven't played the first,
Right.
because that emotional connection will not be there, and this game pretty much starts off exactly where the second one ended.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's moments that go further into that ending, um, that just it fleshes out that first game more, which I think any good sequel should do. And it feels like a continuation of the real storyline, but meanwhile introducing all these elements, all these new characters, um, environments, enemies, factions. It's a natural expansion of the world we were introduced to in The Last of Us. Um, and there's not as many cutscenes as I thought there would be. That being said, there's a few cutscenes I've ran into that are around the 5 minute above
Mm-hmm.
runtime, which I don't mind with these characters being so
Mm-hmm.
well written, so well animated. It's like the acting in this game is it's good in any, it's like up there with the best acting
Mm-hmm.
in like any medium. It's insane. And
And
I
you
think,
you can tell that Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker. You can just tell how excited they were to step back into the shoes of these characters. And Ashley Johnson, especially because Ellie is the focus of the game. The character feels so lived in, and the way she's realized is so lived in because she was in the mocap suit for the first game. So
yeah.
the it's professionals returning to their baby to just shower it with love, and it's a truly remarkable experience. Do we
Yeah.
are there any day one sales figures for the game?
No, no, it's way too early.
Right.
um, but yeah, just speaking on the performances, so you have Troy Baker and sorry, what was her name?
Ashley Johnson.
Yeah, Ashley Johnson, both incredible voice actors, and they do facial animation capture to an extent, but then the animation wizards at Naughty Dog are able to just add on to that. So you get performances that are more believable and more expressive than you would find in a Hollywood movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just because they're able to layer all these details and micro animations and bone structure, muscle flexing, like when you look at someone in the face, you could tell exactly how they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
There's no uncanny valley or anything like that. It feels like you're interacting with people who are not part of a script, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the dialogue, it doesn't feel like someone written this stuff down. It's so natural and organic, and each character is defined so well.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like real people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just, and that affects you on an emotional standpoint in ways that I haven't had with any other game.
And how about those accessibility options, Doe?
Yeah,
Dude,
I mean,
this game is
Jesus
crazy with the
Christ.
options. This is the uh, first game I've ever seen, ever, where I like to play with subtitles. And this game has an option to have an arrow next to the subtitle that is always pointing in real time to the character who's talking. Right?
Wow.
Did you turn that on?
No.
It's crazy. So let's just say Ellie's right here, and then the subtitle is right here, right? The arrow will point at Ellie, but if she moves, the arrow moves to follow the character. And then the next character who speaks, and I really love that they did this, and I've never seen a game do this, and it's so subtle, so easy, is that instead of here's my character's subtitle, the new character speaks, that one disappears, new subtitle, the subtitle scrolls up one one level, right?
Oh.
So character, next line of dialogue goes bloop. So you have the previous line of dialogue right above it. So it's just those little things are everywhere throughout the game.
Yeah, and there's colorblind mode. There's a mode if you're deaf. There's alternate control options, and you could tailor the game, like, you know, whether you have a visual preference or disability, or the game is, if you could handle the subject matter and the violent content, it's made for anyone to be able to play it
mm-hmm.
the way they want to play it.
Mm-hmm. And just it's just honestly, it was just very, you know, I had a moment last night where I'm just stealthing around a corner, trying not to piss off a clicker, and I'm just like, wow, am I really playing this right now? Am I actually playing The Last of Us Part 2? Am I trying to take down a clicker? Like, this is so, it's amazing. And honestly, again, we got the game last night. We're playing away. I truly feel like this is well worth the price of admission, and I cannot wait.
1,000%.
I cannot
And
wait.
I already want to play this almost immediately again, after I finish it, because I know there's certain parts and areas that I missed just because of an approach I took to that level. I wasn't able to go back. So, and there's so many fun collectibles, believe it or not. I mean, other than super depressing stories, there's all these fun trading cards that are honestly hilarious. If you read, some of them are hilarious with the descriptions. So yeah, and yeah, there's so many small story moments. It's not really a story spoiler, but I think everyone needs to do this, is when you're in Seattle, make sure you go to the music shop. It's easy to miss, and you'll miss out on.
That was one of the locations I remember.
Moments in the gaming.
That was one of my favorite moments from the first Last of Us. I think it's when you're with Bill in the town. There's another music shop.
Yeah, you're walking to Bill.
I just love looking at all the the art assets that were created for something like that. All the band names, all the different albums. But okay, good. I'm actually glad you said that, because I'm not at Seattle yet, and I will make sure I go to the music shop when I'm in there.
Yeah, it's in the upper left hand corner of the open area. There's a moment that happens in there. It's probably my favorite moment in gaming, to be honest.
Wow. Okay. I will be finding the music shop.
It made me really emotional.
Ever since the game launched, he's just been texting me. He's like, "I'm tearing up again, bro.
Yeah,
I'm tearing up again."
Much.
I'm like, wow, this game is intense. All right, so I think that's about as in depth as we can go. We've spoiled nothing. Hopefully, we've gotten people hyped who are watching this to go out and play The Last of Us 2, who are fans of the first game. I find it to be an incredibly compelling video game. Games like The Last of Us 2 remind me why I love video games.
Yeah.
The true potential of the medium.
Yeah, and this is a story that can only be told in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
It just wouldn't work.
So on that note, This has been our first impressions, no spoiler discussion with gameplay footage cut in from the very first hour of the game, which spoils nothing. For The Last of Us Part 2, look for our full review coming. I mean, you're probably going to beat the game this weekend, right?
Yeah, my goal is to have it done by Monday.
Okay, great. Which means you get to work on the review. Good. And look for our full review of The Last of Us Part 2 coming shortly. As always, thank you for watching. LHG. Please like the video, subscribe, share it with friends if you like video games. Give us a thumbs up, give us a tweet, give us a reshare, whatever you do.
Give us a subscribe.
Thank you so much. I am Ben, and
I am Noah, and keep on surviving.
Keep on surviving. All right, see you in the next one.